a theory on that hat. I think the reason he wears that hat is for like so they let him in the gym to like hang out and get scoops and shit or try. Like, yeah, man, you got to rep for us, man. You can't fuck. It's like a gang. Like he got his ass whooped by RDA and Verdun, and now he can't get out unless he dies. It's one or the other. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to MMA Advocates, presented by CrossBonesMMA. My name is Eddie Law. We have Jesse Ruvalcaba out of California, Fred Kirby out of Dayton, Ohio, and out of ABQ from ESPN Radio, Dave Rodriguez. Plenty to talk about, man. Let's talk about this weekend, though. Brand new champ, and the co-main, sort of an upset, if not, it wasn't expected. Let's talk about that fight first. The co-main event, Rose Namajunas loses the decision to Carolina K. Let's call her KK for the lack of me being able to say her last name.
Ruvalcaba.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Jess will say that, but I'm gonna go with KK on that shit. But
Just
sort of
add
an
an extra
upset.
K in there.
There you go. So it was sort of an upset, but at the same, yeah, right. 3 triple K would be fucked up, right? If you like slip, I just thought about that right now. That's kind of fucked up. Someone's gonna mess that up too, like on a big network somewhere, or Helwani will fuck that up at some point. He'll be like, KKK is gonna fight for the title. Oh shit! And then have to do a 2-hour show apologizing so people don't fucking whoop his ass on the street. Anyway, but starting here with Jesse. First of all, that shit should not have been a split decision, right? I mean, are we in agreement there? I think it was unanimous for Carolina for sure. Like, I love Thug Rose. I'm a huge fan of Thug Rose, but she did not. That should not have been split, right?
Yeah. It's weird because I know I wasn't drunk, and so when I was like a split decision. I was watching it at a Buffalo Wild Wings, so I was in shock. I was like, a split decision? What the heck? But honestly, I really don't even know how you even judge it. The first round was close, but I don't think it just looked like Rose was not entirely there for the whole fight. I mean, she looked completely like out of sync, out of whack. She I don't know if it had to do anything with the whole Pat Barry situation. Who knows what's going on with those two, but I mean, he wasn't in her corner and all this stuff, so who knows if it was just, one of those things where, a thing's missing from her whole camp and, she just can't focus. But, other than that, I mean, Carolina just put a beating on her, kept, every time she would try to, step in and try to do something, she'd just pop her with a counter and then put a couple combos on her face, and, it's just not a good night for Rose.
Yeah, and that was for people that don't know, Pat Barry, who is, I believe, Rose Namajunas' fiance. I think it's fiance. I'm pretty sure. He was missing from training camp, and not really missing, but apparently they just, according to Rose, and this is what Rose said on one of those embedded shows or one of those interviews, they decided for him to not be around for whatever reason, right? So it was like a mutual decision, which I don't buy because Pat Barry is super passionate about Rose. I mean, if you've seen Pat Barry at any of her fights, especially like the Invicta win, where she it was a flying armbar in like seconds into the fight, he lost his fucking mind and it was in tears, right? So I'm not sure if it's anything negative, or maybe we're not being told the whole story, first of all, it's none of our business, to be honest with you. I really don't care. But Fred, you think that made any kind of impact not having Pat Barry there?
No, I don't think that had much of an impact at all. Quite frankly. I think you're undermining KK's win a little bit here. Like
we didn't get to that point yet. Relax.
You're looking for reasons why Rose lost instead of looking for reasons to why KK won. Listen, you want to know why she won? Because when she grabbed the hold of her in the clinch, she was kneeing the goddamn dog shit out of her. That was some of the most vicious fucking knee strikes from the clinch that I have seen in the what the fuck is it? The strawweight division for the females, man. She was fucking lighting her up. And let me tell you something. Them fucking shots to the body hurt. And they take a lot out of you as the fight goes on. And I think by the fucking end of the second round and the third round, just the small durations where she had her in the clinch fucking really hammering her with those knees, I think they fucking hurt Rose. And they slowed her down. And when a lot of fighters get hurt like that with something real specific and they find kind of a deficiency that they can't really defend like that, I think it kind of puts them on edge a little bit. We were talking about Holly Holm, how she kind of got cracked in that fight. And then after that, she kind of fought differently. I think when they clinched up, man, I think that KK kind of hurt her with those knees to the body, and I think it kind of made Rose approach her, take her approach to the fight a little differently after that. KK did her goddamn thing. Listen, I don't think it's great for the division or the UFC or, everybody always wants to make them big, like, discussions. It's not great that Thug didn't win. We needed Thug Rose to win to kind of keep that, a lot of people are making a big deal that this is the first, like, you know, it's an all Poland thing and it's fucking JJ versus KK. Let me tell you something, Jack. North America doesn't give an F.
Exactly.
I'm sorry,
you know what?
They
And you got a point. No, you definitely got a point on that because it's again as international as MMA and the UFC has become, especially the UFC or especially MMA, but the UFC has become more international. You're right. In the States, nobody cares. RDA was champ, and people always want to see somebody, Alvarez beat him or Khabib, whatever. Which is a weird thing, right? People are big fans of Khabib Nurmagomedov here because the guy's a straight killer. But at the same time, it's just weird. Real quick, we got on YouTube. We got a few comments. Andy's in the house. Jody, how you doing? And Mike Jarvis. Andy says I called all three, so he's talking about the main, co-main, and third fight. And yes, I'm gonna be
of course he did.
Yeah, but he goes, and yes, I'm gonna be a smug bastard about it.
Where's the betting ticket? Where's the betting ticket?
The British Nostradamus over here.
Yeah. Mike Jarvis says, just remember, Rose was the original hype train in the 115-pound division, not Paige. Kind of true.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't really.
Well, she had fights under her belt though, right? Because she was an Invicta and all that, so she wasn't as big a hype train.
Yeah, but imagine, remember how everybody thought going into that Ultimate Fighter, nobody had high hopes for her except for like a few people. A few of the hardcores really thought that she was going to be able to win that fight against the Cookie Monster. And what the Cookie Monster do? She put a beating on her. So it's like
fucked her to death. That's what it was.
She never had the that whole sense of like spreading her wings and becoming like a fan favorite up until after that fight, after she had those pretty exciting wins, and especially after that Paige Van Zandt beating that she put on her.
Yeah.
That really gave her the stardom push that she needed. But before that, I really think that she was kind of like one of those like an Eddie Alvarez, like an underground king that people were kind of hyping up. The hardcores were, but not the common fan. Those like those Fox watchers.
I call them Bud Light.
Listen,
Bud Light fans.
I'm gonna tell you something. Her fucking new haircut that makes her look like a boy from the 1950s. I fucking like it, Jack.
Yeah,
I like that shit.
She looks good. She fucking looks. She's a cute looking girl.
It's fucking good.
Now, Dave, they're talking Joanna champion versus Carolina. How do you think that fight goes? Dave? I think we lost Dave.
No, we can hear you, but you still sound like you're in a yellow submarine.
Yeah, he's very quiet.
There we go. I still can't see you, Jack, but we can hear you good.
What the fuck? I can't hear him for shit. Can you hear him, Jesse?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Like real clear?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going? Okay, this is
why are you interrupting the man? He's trying to make a good point here.
Oh, hold up. All right, try again.
Yeah, it's a little bit better now.
There we go. God damn it.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Go ahead.
I really enjoyed the fight. I did pick Carolina, as we know. I thought she was really well prepared for this bout. Like Fred made a good point, she really implemented the knees in the clinch. She was really effective there. I think that surprised Rose. In her training, I know Rose is really trying to, really improve her ground game. But I think KK was really just ready for the fight wherever it went. It was really cool how Joe Rogan, after the end of the fight, said, hey, Jay, you're going to fight Joanna and Jacek. Like, he officially just said, hey, it's going to happen. When it was brought to the attention of Dana White in a post-interview, he was kind of, a little bit shocked. But then again, it's like, hey, you put this fight on in Poland. It's a real big deal that both these gals are from Poland. Joanna's pretty much, proven to be a true killer in her division and pretty much unstoppable. So nobody really seen Carolina Kowalkiewicz rising up and being a top contender right now, in which that fight is super interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that bout take place.
Definitely, and again, I mean, they're gonna make that a card in Poland is gonna be a huge thing for them. They're gonna try and market the shit out of that. I think they could make it a huge thing, but we'll see.
Listen,
right.
I think before we get off this, I think that is crucial to promotion with this fight. I think it needs to happen in Poland. I've heard people suggesting putting it as the co-main event in New York. I think that would be a fucking disaster, honestly. No disrespect to those women, but that fight needs to be in Poland for sure.
I agree.
No, definitely. And so, of course, let's actually the third fight, since Andy said he called it. Just gotta pull it up real quick.
The third fight was the Jake Ellenberger fight against Matt Brown.
Oh, Ellenberger knocking the shit out of Matt Brown. That body kick, and then, well, first of all, he dropped him, right, early. Beat him up a little bit, and then, was it the liver shot, and then finishing him on the ground. I mean, Fred, dude, like, we've been making fun of Ellenberger for a minute now, and he comes up with this bullshit. What do you think of the fight?
Surprising. Definitely surprising, to a degree. I definitely didn't expect him to drop him that fucking quick, right? I fucking barely could keep my eyes on the TV, and Matt Brown was all in his fucking ass, and Jake Ellenberger was on him. It did feel like it was just Jake Ellenberger's night, man. He seemed like he was really tuned in. Everything he threw was landing. I don't know. It's hard to describe, to be honest with you. I guess you could say that, but he's back at King's MMA, right? Training with Rafael Cordero. Okay, but he's been back there for a few fights, right? So
no, he was at Glendon Fight Club.
Maybe things are just starting to click.
He was over with Ronda's fake ass coach, and that guy was whacking. I think, in fact, me and Jesse talked about that for a while. Like, dude, if you're gonna be in LA or in California, either go to Alliance, even Alpha Male if you absolutely have to, or preferably King's MMA, who has the striking and the ground coaches, especially the striking. Rafael Cordero is no fucking joke. And I mean, that's just being serious. This motherfucker just redid his hat. Anyway, but still, it's a great place for a guy like Ellenberger. A perfect place for a guy like Ellenberger.
Look, it kind of is the best place for him just because of his fighting style. His style is aggressive and, moving forward. I mean, that's how he got the moniker of a juggernaut, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we wanted to see from him, that style of fighting. And who was it? I think, again, shoot me for being on Luke Thomas's nuts too much. I think it was Luke Thomas that was talking about that his style wasn't really a fit for what Glendale Fight Team is, and they're just a boxing team, and that's all they really do. He's got boxers and he's got Ronda. Everybody else just kind of falls to the wayside, Your boxing will look good, but that's not the style that you really need for someone like Jake Ellenberger. You need someone that's just going to give him the cardio, give him the confidence to really know where to place those shots, in a war. And King's MMA is pretty well known for having that kind of Shuto box style of training where they just get in there and lace them up and throw, and get in these firefights and try to figure out how to use the skills that Cordero's teaching them in those firefights. And that's exactly the thing he needs. He doesn't really need technique. He just needs to know how to bite down on his mouthpiece and throw some heavy leather. So, and I think that's what we saw in this fight, which is great.
Yeah, no, definitely. We got some comments on YouTube. Andrew Reed says, I told Dave that Brown will be turned into soup. And Jody's upset. She goes, Immortal, I'm sad. I'm more surprised with this outcome than the Woodley one. And, of course, Andy comes back with not so immortal. Of course, Andy would say some shit like that.
Listen. Yeah. I think that you should put a lot of stock in the game plan, too, though.
Yeah, the game plan was big.
Matt Brown is notorious for being able to be hurt to the body. And Jake Ellenberger said after the fight that him and one of the coaches over at King's MMA had been working on that body kick for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I'll be goddamned if he didn't finish him with a kick to the liver. That shit ain't no fucking accident. They were working on that kick. They knew it would be effective, and it fucking worked.
Anybody gets hit with that kick, I mean, most people probably would have been, like, cut in half because he put everything into that kick. I mean, the replay alone just made me go, oh, every time I saw that replay. Yeah. That was a nasty kick to the body.
Go ahead, Dave.
True, but it's a known Matt Brown weakness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like when Eric Silva did the same thing to him, opened him up to the body and dropped him and had him hurt like 2 or 3 times in that fight too. Had him running, moving back and everything.
Yeah, Dave, what were you saying?
Yeah, exactly my point. I know Fred made a point to say, it's key that Matt Brown is, he is mortal when you hit him to the body. That was proven in the Eric Silva fight. I mean, that was Eric Silva when he was sort of like, coming into his own, but then again, that same technique, that same style, that's really effective against Matt Brown, but nobody's seen him get finished in that manner, especially not by Jake Ellenberger, but much respect to Jake the Snake. I mean, he showed up, he told Dana he'd deliver, he was pretty much out of the UFC, so props to him. It's be interesting to see who they match him up with next. I think he'll more than likely get a good name, a top name. He's fought the who's who in the 70 division. Interesting to see who they match up, the juggernaut going forward.
Back to that point, though, man, messed up is that they're like you're pretty much fired out of the UFC, and then you beg them for one more shot, and then they're like, all right, we'll give you Matt Brown. Like, really? That's the worst matchup to it's like I don't know, man. It was a terrible matchup when I heard it, and I was like, when I heard the story of him actually flying to Vegas to beg for one more shot, I mean, I was like, man, they really didn't give him no cookie cutter answer right there. They were just like, all right, well, here's the baddest guy in the division. Good luck.
Yeah, and I mean, he made it count,
you know, man,
for
but
sure,
Jake
right?
Ellenberger's a rare.
Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. He's just a rare case, though, because he did have all the tools. I mean, remember, this is also the guy that fucking straight starts Jake Shields.
Mm-hmm.
He's had the tools. He's got a lot of power. He's a bad dude. I think he's one of those guys who really has to be there mentally. And if he's off his game or if he's not confident in his training and shit, I think it shows drastically. But he's definitely the type of cat that's got the tools. If he's right mentally and he's got the right camp and shit, clearly. I mean, look what he did to Matt Brown. Matt Brown's a fucking top 5 guy, and he fucking walked through him. And it wasn't like some lucky shot. He landed a few big shots. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Well, don't say walk through him, because after he hit him with that first shot, after he kind of like tried to get him out of there and he kind of couldn't, then Matt Brown started kind of piecing him up a little bit up until that body shot came. So you can't say he just walked right through him, because it was kind of looking like a Jake Ellenberger fight where he gets out in the front, can't finish, and then he starts getting beat up, and then he starts kind of, losing his momentum. So I don't know, man. I still have to see him get a good win before I can, write Ellenberger back into the UFC. I almost have him in World Series of Fighting at this point.
Damn.
You got some kind of balls on you. He comes out and destroys Matt Brown in the first round with strikes, and you need another better win? Easy up, Jesus Christ.
Dave.
Well, I was just say, ranking-wise, it really didn't affect Matt Brown too much. I mean, I referenced it on the previous show. I mean, Matt Brown, what is he, is recognized 2-3 in his last 5, now 2-4, I believe. So he's still going to be in the top 10 or just outside of it. So what I was getting at is, you guys heard Jorge Masvidal's post-fight interview. He pretty much called Matt Brown out, and he's like, hey, I want to test myself in there. I'm kind of tired of this guy walking around mean mugging everybody, and I want to show him that he's really not that tough. So I'm super excited if that bout gets booked. I mean, that's a necessary book. They're both on the same card. I really like Masvidal. I talked real highly about him in the pre-show. I think he's a guy who could be, a 4-fight fighter a year, 4 to 5 fights, and he could be a guy to rise up in the rankings. He's a little bit ways out now, but hey, a win over Matt Brown puts him in the right direction, coming off a great win over Ross Pearson as well on that same card.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. Well, of course, let's talk about one more fight before we get to the main event. Nikita Krylov basically murdered Ed Herman. I mean, fucking head kick, and then Herman dropped like his soul. He basically kicked his soul out of his body, and Herman just goes and dropped like a motherfucker. I mean, goddamn, Fred, what the fuck, right?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I fuck with Nikita Krylov. I like that cute cocksucker. Matter of fact, I would go as far as to call him one of my favorite fighters. What an interesting story this guy had, right? This guy was a literal fucking joke, like the laughing stock. Like, how did he actually? There was a point in time where I remember people were legit talking about this guy being the worst actual fighter that the UFC had ever actually signed to take a fight, and that was after Kimbo had fought in the UFC, mind you. Yeah. And here he is. He dropped from heavyweight to 205, and not only is he winning, but he's doing the important part. He is fucking finishing fights. He's winning in impressive fashion. You gotta hand it to him. He fucking looks good. Matter of fact, what the fuck? Old. This fight was at 85, right?
Yeah, 85. I think.
Yeah,
was this fight at middleweight?
Let me find out real quick. I think it was. Let me fucking pull up the card. This is stupid. It won't give you the weights. You know what? I think it might have been 205.
Did Herman move up to 205 then, maybe?
Yeah, Herman has been at 205.
Okay. Either fucking way.
It's 205, and there's just there's a lot of guys that are coming up.
Either way, Nikita Krylov looked fucking great. To be a guy that we all thought was a joke, he looked fucking impressive. And I'm actually low key interested in him getting a legit name and seeing what he can do. Might be actually kind of good.
No, definitely. Dave, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that 205 division, they're interesting fights, building up. You got Ilir Latifi, he's on a streak. Krylov's on a streak. There's just a couple guys. There's Misha Serkinov also in there. So there's some guys rising up there and make some interesting matchups near the top as they rise up. But Krylov's one guy to look out for. I think Lily Teepe's got Ryan Bader, I think, coming up. So yeah, he's got a pretty high profile bout, probably the biggest fight of his career. So interesting to see where the 205 division goes. You know what I mean? Got Glover and Anthony Johnson too as well. So let's see what happens with the 205 minus one very important guy, Johnny Bones. So we'll see what happens.
And that's so weird thing. We still gotta find out. Is there any news on John Jones? Do we know anything yet?
I seen John a couple days ago at the gym. I didn't really talk to him about anything to that nature. I kind of just observed him training, drilling, with Alistair, the Overeem in there. So just that greatness alone, I kind of just have to, observe and just check it out. And then John's in there putting in work. So going forward, I think he plans on, making a return at some point, obviously. But then again, this whole USADA fallout deal is just something where, just a matter of time before we know how much or how long he's going to be out of the sport. And then DC, who they match DC up with, who's the next 205 deserving contender to compete for that title. So.
Yeah, I think likely the winner of Glover and Rumble, but we'll see. All right, let's talk about the main event here. Robbie Lawler against Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley lands a beautiful right hand and takes Robbie out. Like, we've seen Robbie get dropped before, and he hops back up like a goddamn zombie and comes at you like he's, like you just fucked his mother or something. But it got fucking crazy because Tyron Woodley drops him and then gets on him, just finishes him right there on the ground. First of all, I heard a lot of cries right after the fight about it being stopped early. Fred, do you think it was stopped too quick?
No, not at all. I mean, I love these situations where people are like, the fight is stopped too early. Could they have let it go on for another 5 seconds? Sure. But Woodley, it was the first round. He was fresh as fuck. Robbie was hurt bad. He could have let him tag him a few more times in the face. But believe me, Woodley would have. His adrenaline was through the roof. Robbie was finished. You know what I'm saying? The fight was certainly not stopped early. It does kind of blow, though. It's a little sad to see Robbie's run come to an end like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's been having this kind of a storybook ending, and the ends to, let's be fucking honest, a not so sexy champion. I mean,
right?
Are y'all all that thrilled to watch Tyron Woodley fucking defend the belt?
Nope, not at all. Not at all. Unless it's honestly, well, it depends on the matchup.
I'm sure he's got a base.
Right, but the name Tyron Woodley, if I hear, Tyron Woodley fighting whoever, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck.
Listen, and you just summed it up, man. I'm sure Tyron has some fans out there that are just Tyron Woodley fans, but they're scarce, Jack. There ain't a whole bunch of them out there that are just buying pay-per-views because of Tyron. Now, I suppose he could change that. This was a big win for him. But listen, I've been watching this guy fight for a long time. You know what the fucking problem with Tyron Woodley is?
Yeah.
Fucking consistent. This is what he does. He comes out, starches a fool, and then either comes out and fucking lays on somebody or gets starched himself. He's very inconsistent, man, especially with his ability to keep the fights exciting. So, listen, good on him. Great fucking win. I'm sure he got paid. I'm sure he'll get paid even more for the next fight, so that's great. It's sad to see Robbie lose like that, though. I'm a Robbie Lawler fan, so, yeah.
Now, Jesse, were you surprised about the ending there?
No, I mean, I think pretty much everybody knew that if it was a first-round finish, it was going to be Tyron Woodley, and that's exactly how he would have to win that fight. There was no way in hell, no matter what Tyron Woodley says, no matter what anybody wants to say, that he'd be able to go 5 rounds and win. Because we've seen what happens when he goes 5 rounds. Who was it? Nate. What's his name? Nate Marquardt, right? Was it Marquardt? That I think so. Basically pinned him up against the cage and bopped his head almost off his freaking body before he knocked him out. One of the most Street Fighter type KOs ever in Strikeforce. And I agree with Fred over there that he's so inconsistent. You just don't know what kind of Tyron Woodley you're gonna get. And I think the edge he had in this fight is the fact that they did train together, and he probably did get the best of Lawler in those exchanges before. And I think that's the edge he had because I don't think I've ever seen Lawler be so tentative, spend almost 2 minutes without throwing a single punch or anything. He was just kind of circling around trying to see what Woodley was going to do, and he really didn't do much up until he got cracked. So, I mean, it was just a weird fight in that sense, and it just pisses me off to no end that Tyron Woodley is now calling for, money fights.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, like you waited out a year, like what, 18 months, right?
Yeah,
Waited out 18 months for a title shot. You skipped over everybody and you were like, nope, I'm gonna do this, and now that somebody's in the wings waiting for a title shot, now you're gonna be like, no, I'm gonna do a money fight. I don't need to fight. No, dude, you need to fight the guys to prove that you're the best. So screw Tyron Woodley. I hope he gets kicked in the head by Wonder Boy over there.
Yeah, and Dave, what about that, man? Oh wait, Fred, what? Real quick, Fred, hurry up. Come on, Fred.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Do I love the way that Tyron Woodley fights? Not exactly. Am I a big fan of his? Nope, not really. But can I hate on the guy for trying to get paid now that he's in the position to do so?
Nope.
Not at all, Jack. And let me tell you something. The fight that they want to give him, the goddamn Wonder Boy, guess why they call him that? Fucker flies around kicking people's heads off their shoulders. Fuck exactly. Yeah. Give me GSP. GSP.
But
you know what? Fuck it. I don't care what nobody says. I think GSP was juicing. That's right. I don't think he did a body like that originally. I think he's fucking cheating. And I think when he comes back, he won't be as good as he was. And I think fucking Tyron Woodley thinks the same thing. He's thinking, listen, I get fucking quadruple the payday, way more recognition if I beat GSP. Fuck yeah, I'm pushing for the GSP fight. You know what I'm saying? Fuck a Wonder Boy.
Okay.
He ain't gonna do no numbers, and he's probably gonna kick my fucking ass.
Yeah.
I get you, but you know what? It looks bad as a champion, as the baddest man in that division. When someone says, hey, I want you next, to go, oh, no, you got to go do something else. I want to fight this guy. Like, it looks bad. It's a bad look. You're supposed to be the best in the world. You tell him, yeah, you're going to get yours. I'm going to do this first, then you're going to get yours. He never said he's gonna fight him. He just said, no, you go fight Lawler now because you wanted to fight Lawler. I'm going to go make money. Like, dude, that makes you look weak.
Kinda. I like that line. I liked it. Listen, I don't love the way he fights, so he better fucking jazz me up in some other way. And I'm tell you something. If Dan Henderson gets to fight Michael Bisping just because he starched him fucking 42 years ago, then fuck it. Tyron can call for fucking George.
You got fans on YouTube there, Fred. Jody and Mike are cheering you on with this one. Now, Dave, again, just like you heard them say, Woodley, immediately goes, in fact, it actually got kind of funny. Wonder Boy actually interviewed Tyron Woodley, right, after his win. And he goes, hey, so, are you ready to go, whatever? And he fucking just basically avoided the whole question and everything. Said, oh, you wanted to fight Lawler, dude, you can go fight Lawler, then, motherfucker. Like, because Wonder Boy had assumed that Lawler was going to win. So, Dave, if you're the UFC, first of all, we could talk all day whether Woodley, should do this, or should do that, or whether, he's stupid for calling on money fights. Personally, I'm like, look, if I'm a fighter, anything can happen. I can injure, I can blow a knee, I can do whatever, I can get my head knocked off, I can have whatever. I don't blame him for calling out money fights. Does he deserve it? No. But if I was him in the exact same position, would I be calling out money fights because I want to get paid because who knows how long my body, my brain is going to last? Yes, I'm calling out money fights as much as possible. So, Dave, what do you think happens here? You think the UFC gets their way, he gets Wonder Boy, or is he going to pull what he just did, which was wait 18 months for a title shot and look for a Diaz or a GSP?
Yeah, just congrats to Tyron. He showed up, put one on. Robbie clearly said, in the post interview, he said, I just got caught by a Tyron bomb. So he definitely knew what Tyron was coming in with. And like you guys said, he may have got the best of him in previous, training sessions and whatnot, stuff like that. So they're very familiar with what Robbie was bringing to the table. So going forward, the way they set that whole deal up with having Wonder Boy on the Fox set, I know normally they have Tyron there, so they kind of just like swapped them out, and I really don't think that was like sort of the best thing to do at that time. But they went about doing it, hoping that it would work out to where the fight just basically booked itself. But Tyron definitely should be worried about Wonder Boy. We all know what Rory McDonald did to Tyron Woodley, not that long ago, and we know what Stephen Wonder Boy did to Rory. So definitely, Wonder Boy is the man. He's the guy that deserves a shot, in my opinion. You cannot deny that guy. Champions take on all comers. GSP, when he was on his run, he took on everybody there was in the division. So I could see Tyron's point where he won a big fight. He knocked off Robbie and put him out in the worst way. So in which he's kind of demanding the big fights, which Robbie was going, war after war, fight of the night, fight of the year, every single time out. So I really just want to see Woodley back in there and be an active champion, whether he does fight Nick Diaz here in 2 weeks or if he's going to fight, Roy McDonald, or not, I'm sorry, Wonderboy Thompson. But there's definitely other contenders that are going to present themselves. Calvin Gastelum's one of them. He's on the streak right now. That's a rematch I'd love to see. You got Damian Maia and Carlos Condit. Tyron Woodley claims that he has that win over Carlos Condit, but as far as I'm concerned, that's not he didn't really beat the natural born killer. So that fight does present himself. It's going to be interesting to see if Woodley's disinterested in fighting Carlos Condit again, since he already has a win over the guy. So I think Carlos will make his case when he fights Damian here soon. I'm really, really interested to seeing what the outcome of that is going to happen. And going forward, I'm all Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Cannot deny the guy. You got to give him the shot. It's his time, definitely, 100%. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
All right, Fred. If you don't give Woodley, you're a matchmaker. If you don't give Woodley Wonderboy next, is it GSP or is it Nick Diaz? Fred?
Okay, you're breaking up. What'd you say? If you don't give him Wonderboy, who do you give him?
Yeah, Diaz or GSP or what?
Okay, so here's the deal. Listen, I was just thinking about this. So Diaz is coming back and GSP is coming back, or they're both heavily rumored to be coming back, right?
Right.
Now listen, here's what I would do, and fuck your question, because I tell you what, that's exactly what I'm doing. If I'm the UFC, if I'm Joe Silva, okay, here's what we're gonna do. GSP's coming back. I tell you what I'm gonna do with GSP. GSP is not the draw that he once was. He's been gone for a long time. He'll be a huge draw, but he's no longer the champ. And I think, a lot of hardcore heads low-key feel like he lost that fight to Johnny Hendricks anyways. So I don't think it's really necessary for GSP to be stuck at 170. GSP fighting Tyron Woodley is...
That's true.
That fight sucks with capital fucking S, Jack. Listen, you take GSP and you give him Anderson Silva, okay? It's a fucking fantasy fight. We've all wanted it for a long time. They're both at a fucking weird spot in their career. Let those two pricks fight it out. All the star power in the world. There you go. Boom. Okay. Nick Diaz is coming back. Nick Diaz wants big fights. He ain't fighting no contenders. I don't blame him. Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz 2 is a fight that everybody wants. Hardcore fans, everybody's down for that fight. They'll both get paid, and Robbie's one fight removed from being a reigning champion. And I'll tell you what we do with Tyron Woodley. We feed that motherfucker to the Wonder Boy, because nobody wants his champ anyways, and Wonder Boy's got a very fan-friendly style. Mm-hmm. He's only got one loss to Matt Brown when he was actually inexperienced. You could chalk that up to whatever. I think that Wonder Boy makes a way more interesting champion than Tyron Woodley, quite frankly. I just think he's the guy that could sell tickets. He's got an interesting fan-friendly style. And, so if I'm Joe Silva, that's what I'm doing with all those cats in that puzzle.
What's funny, Jesse?
Nah, just throwing shade at Tyron Woodley, assuming that he's going to get destroyed by Wonder Boy. Although I agree with you. I assume the same thing. But, it's just annoying to me that now he's calling for money fights. What has he been doing for the last 18 months? Not building his name, not trying to take these money fights. It's just, like I said, it just pisses me off to no end that now that he holds the title, he's going to basically pull a Conor McGregor and try to make money instead of, defending that title like he should be, I don't know, man. I like Fred's little matchmaking there, his little, playing Joe Silva right there. I agree with pretty much everything. And I think really you also have already lined up, 3 competitors ready for a title shot. I mean, you've got Carlos Condit, you got Damian Maia, and you got Wonder Boy. All 3 of those guys, you could just rotate them in right away, one right after the other, just vying for that title shot, So I think he's got plenty of people to keep him busy. He shouldn't be looking for no, money fights or, Conor McGregor style, pay-per-view points and $1 million payouts. He ain't getting that anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. Now, Dave, real quick before we move on to the next thing. Mike Jarvis and Andrew Reed, well, I'll just read them. Andrew Reed says Condit doesn't get past Maia, and Mike says Maia strangles Condit. What do you think of that?
Man, I'm really looking forward to that fight. Yeah, everybody knows, the questionable takedown D, where Carlos, somewhat, a guy that's easy to take down. He's dangerous on the ground on that aspect. So Damian Maia is just a guy where he'll keep it up for the length of the fight. This fight is a high-profile bout in the 170 division, so the outcome of this fight could definitely determine Tyron Woodley's next opponent. I mean, they're probably just going to wait to see the outcome of this one, in which they either line up the Wonderboy bout with Woodley, or if Damian Maia is impressive, or Carlos Condit, which will make it very interesting if they consider that as an option. So Damian Maia, we all know what he does in there. I'm sure Carlos is making doing all the preparations necessary to be in that type of fight, which Damian's going to bring for sure. So a very, very interesting high-profile bout in that one. I got to go with Condit though, but I definitely know Maia is the guy that has the style to beat Carlos and beat him sort of like in a couple different ways. But that fight is super high profile, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, man. To me, it's Condit's takedown defense is going to be the issue, in my opinion. If it gets to the ground, I don't think he has a chance in hell against a guy like Maia, who's a monster anaconda motherfucker on there. So. All right. Moving on. Next thing here, Tony Ferguson versus RDA in Mexico City. I think it's official actually, right?
Yeah.
This official. Motherfucker. Let's go to Jesse first. So we got Ferguson versus RDA. RDA coming off a loss. He just got finished. Ferguson coming off a win in which one of Dave's boys nearly finished him in the first round. Exciting fight. So now we get both of these guys fighting each other in Mexico City. Ferguson, I'm assuming, is thinking that he gets a title shot off of this one. Do you think RDA gets just like a number one contendership, or does he get a title shot off of this? What do you think of the fight overall? Who do you think wins that? As down the middle as you can be with your RDA hat on.
It's an interesting fight because we have to see how he's gonna rebound after that loss, and that loss was not an easy loss. I mean, he got put to sleep. It wasn't like one of those like where he was like half awake, like what was it, Matt Brown, where he got hurt, put down. He was shut off completely. So I think it's a little too soon for RDA to be coming back this fast. Mm-hmm. How he's gonna look is just gonna dictate how it's gonna end up going. Ferguson, on the other hand, I mean, I've never thought when Ferguson was calling RDA out, I never thought he had a chance. Just because of the way he likes to fight, he likes to get hit. I just think that it's just not stylistically they match up perfectly for someone to go to sleep, pretty much. So it's a tough fight for me. I'd probably go RDA in that fight, of course, but I think it's it just depends on how he looks on leading up to that fight. With everything that's been going on, his whole camp and everything, it's just going to be an interesting fight. Number one contendership, maybe. I don't think he should get a title shot right away. Definitely Ferguson should definitely get a shot if he wins that fight. He's been on a streak. He's been kind of, pushing the envelope to try and get a shot. So I think he deserves that shot. Right after Khabib takes the title, might as well give it to him.
Right, that's the thing behind it. I was going to ask Fred about that. Khabib is one of the guys you've been talking about for a long time. I mean, the rumor is Khabib versus Alvarez, right? That's what everyone wants to see. That's what the rumor is. First of all, who wins that fight? And to say that actually goes down and Khabib wins, you get Khabib versus Ferguson, potentially. That does Ferguson have a shot against a guy like Khabib?
Of course not. Listen, I'm going to tell you what. I love RDA versus Tony Ferguson. You know why? Because I can't stand neither one of those pricks. One of them has to lose. I fucking love it. And I'll tell you another thing. You know who I think's going to lose? RDA. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I think USADA is the man, Jack. And I'll tell you, I think that RDA and Fabricio Verdum were drinking out of the same water bottle. And I don't find it to be no coincidence that they both lost their belts around the same time. And you can fucking quote me on that, Jack. So I think that Tony Ferguson and his little weirdy-beardy style will absorb a little punishment in the first round and outlast RDA because he has no more Jamba Juice left, and he's going to fucking disappear into oblivion. And yes, obviously, fucking Mr. King of Ramadan himself, Khabib, the uncrowned champ from way back, will finally take his belt. Eddie Alvarez is cute, but I think for sure if Khabib gets that fight, which he certainly fucking should, he will win that fight, and then I do think you're right. I think Tony Ferguson will win, and we'll have Tony Ferguson versus Khabib, which I actually think will be a fucking routing by Khabib. I think everybody's going to be really high on Tony Ferguson after he outlasts RDA, and I think Khabib is actually going to finally be. Listen, right now in MMA, I almost want to fucking hang myself. All of our champions, they're not heroes. They inspire no hope to me.
What?
I'm sorry, they don't. Fucking Eddie Alvarez, Tyron Woodley, motherfucking Michael Bisping, DC by default, and fucking Stipe Miocic. Jesus fucking Christ. A fucking motley crew of champions if I've ever seen one.
What about Mighty Mouse, man?
For a fucking, you know what? He's small. But I like him. Mighty Mouse is the man. Come on. His nickname is Mighty Mouse.
It's fucked up.
Listen, so is Dominic Cruz. They are dominant champions. But come on, man. You guys know what I'm saying. We used to have the days of the Anderson Silvas and the motherfucking GSPs, and we had the DJ Pins, these guys that like evoked fear, and you felt like was a real champion. You're like, no way anybody's ever going to beat this guy. None of these champions have that vibe. I think that Khabib might be the first guy for a while that actually defends that belt a few times and gives us that fucking vibe.
Yeah, real quick, Jody has a question. She says, and I'll go with Fred on this one first, and then Jesse, and then Dave. Do you think RDA's chin is weak after that knockout?
No, after his steroid abuse ended.
Jesse, that's your boy, dude. You got to defend him or what?
No, I mean, I've always talked about. I mean, we've always talked about the same thing. I mean, once you get knocked out, you need at least a good year before you can come back. Especially if you're fighting a guy that's heavy on the striking. You know, it just doesn't suit you to come back really quickly. Kind of like Fabricio Verdum coming back so quickly to fight Ben Rothwell? Another guy that hits hard. It's just not good to not take that time off. And really rest the brain, rest the chin, you know, just get everything back in order. I mean, especially if you get hit a couple times, you get 1 or 2 knockouts in a row, it's just not good for your brain, and your chin starts to deteriorate really quickly. You know, it's just not a good idea in my opinion.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, look, RDA got knocked out. It's gonna be like people are talking to me immediately. They're gonna be like, "Oh, RDA's chin is suspect." Ronda Rousey's taking her sweet time if she even comes back. She's taking her sweet ass time coming back, possibly for that reason, right? RDA. You think he gets knocked out by with Ferguson?
Yeah, when I first heard of that bout being booked, I was kind of thinking that would be the matchup. Mexico City is the setting, is what I heard. So. Rafael Cordero better make sure to get RDA out there and do the necessary, get there in time and do the training because they got to get that adjustment done. I think it'll be very helpful in that fight. Tony Ferguson pushes a high pace and he's going to bring it right to RDA, right in his face, much like Eddie Alvarez did. But the matchup is good. You know what? It's just Ferguson kind of had his chin rocked a little bit. He got rattled a little bit by Lando. So I think going forward we're going to see a very very competitive bout.
It's going to be so far.
The time that RDA has been off, I mean, it's good that he's going to get back in there against a high-level guy and be right there in the mix with Ferguson. I think Ferguson probably would have got the title shot had he finished Lando and it wasn't the fight that just where he almost got finished in the first round. That really hurt him a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then again, it's a high-profile bout. I've been high on Khabib Nurmagomedov since the first day I've ever seen him step foot in the octagon. The only guy to actually give him a legit, somewhat of a competitive fight is Gleison Tibau. If you guys remember that fight, years upon years ago. He's the only guy to show that he can actually stop the takedown of Khabib. And then how fucking much of a beast do you have to be to get 21 takedowns in a fight and have a guy get back up 21 times? And that's something that's incredible. I mean, and that stat is unbreakable stat. Khabib will be the only guy to break that stat. And, going forward, that guy is the champion in my eyes. But Eddie Alvarez has pretty much, showed everybody what he's all about. That's a super exciting bout. I don't care if Khabib's not the biggest sell. He's deserving of that fight. So it's the next fight to get booked. And, I cannot wait for that fight to get. And I think Fred's right. Khabib's the guy actually going to be a 155er to defend the title, I think. And it's just his time. I mean, he's had so much bad luck with injuries. Anxious to see that fight get booked and come to fruition eventually.
And shout out to @JudoEd on Twitter for that Ferguson title shot talk, because it's been a while. He actually has a pretty good streak going. He hasn't gotten no title shot. Not only that, people haven't been very serious about talking him and talking about him in the title shot. So that's it's always it's a weird thing to see guys on 8 win streaks like fucking Wonder Boy, Max Holloway, who we're about to talk about right now. Actually, Paulie Walnuts on Twitter asking about Holloway at 155 and why and how he should be in the mix for a title. Fred, what do you think about that?
You mean 145?
No, 155. He was talking 155.
Oh, okay.
What do you think, Fred?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that motherfucker ain't got a shot in the dark at getting the title shot at 55. He's lucky they're going to fucking maybe give him some shit at 40. Listen, at 45, he's right there, right? He's the man. He either gets the next shot or gets, depending on what happens with Conor, at 45, he is pretty much the top contender. But nah, dog, he ain't shit at 55. I hope dude meant 45. If he meant 45, then yeah, he's right there on the cusp. He'll either get the shot or get somebody top 2 or 3 guy for sure.
Dave, Holloway at 55, is that possible, or do you think those guys are a little too much for him?
Yeah, I think 55 would be a little bit much for him. I mean, Max is one hell of a tough dude. One fight that I really love to see, I love to see the Conor McGregor rematch eventually. I just want to see that. If it takes 14 fight winning streak for him to get there, I mean, they might have to give Max Holloway his own title here and 3 more wins if he's not in the title shot, you know what I mean? So, yeah, at 145, he's pretty much, he's right at the top there. I mean, with Conor, with Nate, we all know that's coming soon. But definitely, man, like Max Holloway, how do you go on that type of streak? And, I mean, most people, are probably not, keen on Max Holloway. They really don't, tune into his fights or not. He's not an exciting guy. He's not a name guy. But shit, man, if the guy goes in there and fights Conor McGregor and puts him out or gets in there with Jose Aldo, he's going to bring it. Max Holloway's there for a reason. I don't think he needs to even think about 155. 145 is where he's going to state his claim, which he's already done so. So he has to go on 15-fight win streak to prove his point. Hey, man, I think it's possible he does it. Shit, I mean, all the power to him. Max Holloway is a top-notch dude.
Yeah,
listen, now that I think about it, if Conor don't come back to 45, Max Holloway is the guy.
Yeah.
Shit, Jose just beat Frankie. If Frankie ain't the man, then Max has to be. So, like, it all hinges on whether Conor comes back. If Conor comes back, he'll obviously defend the belt against Jose. But if Conor can't make 45 or wins and stays at 70 or goes up to 205 or whatever the fuck weird shit he's doing, it'll be Max versus Jose next anyways, almost certainly.
Yeah, Andrew Reese says the Potato Goblin won't make 145 again. So, look, Max Holloway got to be the man.
Potato Goblin.
He loves that shit.
There's talks of see, guys, I don't get it either because there's talks of Frankie Edgar and Holloway. They're a fight book, but hey, man,
I don't like that.
I don't. Max Holloway is deserving of the title shot right now as we speak. If Conor was available, Jose Aldo, if that matchup wasn't they weren't trying to set up that that fight. But then again, man, you cannot deny Max Holloway, man. There's a couple guys out there, and he's one of them, and he's at the top of my list, deserving for the title shot right now.
Look, August 20th, Jesse, we're going to find out exactly what's going to happen with 145. Whether we're going to find out if Conor's coming back down or not. But if Conor doesn't come back down, I'm thinking Holloway Jose Aldo is a fight, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I think it's pretty much a guarantee, no matter what happens, that he has to come back to a 45, right? Because I think
he can make it.
Well, he's going to have to make it, or he's going to have to let go of that belt.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what Dana White pretty much insinuated the last time we had, they had that conversation with Dana White about the whole Conor McGregor thing, and he was basically like, well, after this fight, he has to defend that title, and I mean, they can't keep setting up this precedent where, what after this fight, what's it going to be, 3 fights outside of the division? You can't do that without going back and at least defending your title. I mean, Anderson Silva moved up and moved back to defend his title a couple times, but he kept defending his title in between, so he can't keep doing this crap. I mean, he's holding up the division, and then he's giving people like Tyron Woodley ideas that they shouldn't have in their head, So I mean, I think they have to make him come back down to 145, or just give up the title and have Jose Aldo, get beat up by somebody. What? Now what?
Red.
Tyron Woodley Tyron Woodley is no fucking C-Mac.
No,
Let's not
no.
confuse shit. Tyron Woodley better not be taking no fucking page out of his book, Jack. He is not a needle mover.
Oh, you listen to the way he talks. I think he thinks he is Conor McGregor over here. He's trying to hype himself up, trying to get the money fights. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, look, he's gonna try to almost, not bully, because bully's a bad word for that, but he's gonna try and get Dana White to give him that shit. All right, we have an event this weekend. We'll talk about the main event. It's actually UFC Fight Night Utah this Saturday on FS1. Utah, Salt Lake City. Yeah, right.
Salt Lake City. Yeah, right? Gross.
I've never been there, but the Utah's a state. No offense to anybody, just no pass. But the main event, number 13 ranked featherweight Yair Rodriguez against Bruce Leroy. Alex Caceres, man. They both got fucking funky ass styles, Jesse. What do you think? Who do you think can win this fight?
I think it's going to be a more exciting fight than probably most people think.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bruce Leroy has the ability to really make it an exciting fight. I just don't think he has enough in the tank to win the fight. I think we'll probably see like a good 4 rounds out of this, maybe even a 5th round. Maybe it might be, but I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think Yair is still coming into his own. I think he's still got a little bit more. He still needs a little bit more time before they throw him into a title shot or a number 1 contender fight. But this is definitely a good enough test. It sucks that this card is kind of. I gotta say this matchup, this main event is not a very good main event. It'll be exciting, but I don't think it's main event quality. I don't know about you guys, but
I think Yair's main event quality fighter, but yeah, I think the match is kind of weird. Fred, what do you think about this fight? I mean, you got Bruce Leroy, who's as funky as they come, against Yair, who will take any risk and do some crazy shit to try and win. So what do you think of the fight?
First off, Jesus, go fuck yourself. I love this as a main event. Listen, I can't stand these main events that leave you bored as fuck. One thing this fight will not do is be boring. This fight will almost assuredly be fun to watch. It'll be exciting, and it will end the night on a good note. So you kiss my ass. This is a great main event.
All right.
Salt Lake City,
on Sunday,
the polygamous capital of the world, is a little weird.
On Sunday, after this goes 5 rounds and it goes to decision, I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna tell you what happened.
Oh man!
Listen, I would like to see Yair win because I think he has slightly more upside. But if I really am honest about the fight, I think that Bruce Leroy has more ways to win. I think Bruce Leroy is a better grappler. And I think that he's more battle-tested. I think that he is – I mean, fuck, man. Bruce Leroy had a really, pretty competitive fight with Uriah Faber. Bruce Leroy has actually kind of low-key been around the block before, man. He's been in there with some tough dudes. Yair's got a lot of talent, but this will be the first time he's fought somebody low-key kind of legit. Now – Yair does have a lot of talent and throw some crazy shit. Could he fucking throw a goddamn it 720 tornado kick and fucking knock Bruce Leroy out? Maybe.
Fuck yeah.
Maybe he could. He could land some crazy shit and straight knock him the fuck out. But if he doesn't, and the fight wears on, it's a 5-round fight. As the fight wears on, I think that Bruce Leroy will have a noted advantage in experience, stamina, and just the overall knowledge of the grappling game, man. I think Bruce Leroy's grappling is kind of slick, actually. And as the fight goes on and Yair gets tired, I could very well see Bruce Leroy locking up something kind of tricky on him in the 3rd or 4th round. That being said, I'm rooting for Yair. He's got a lot of upside. He's fun to watch.
I think he almost locked in some kind of choker, armbar or something on Uriah, right? In that fight.
Yeah, he was pretty close in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he threatened Uriah a couple times. And see, that's what I take into this fight, saying that it's not going to be a walk in the park like a lot of people think. I think this is going to be, like Fred is saying, a really good test of where Yair really is and how much more he has to grow, because he's really got a pretty well-rounded guy in front of him. A guy that can strike, a guy that can, kind of match his movement, and he's got length on him. So he's got a lot of things that he's going to be able to show if he's able to win this fight and win it as dominant as he has before. So it should be an interesting fight, I think.
Definitely. Now, Dave, this is one of your guys, man. Yeah, he trains over at Jackson's. You know what? I give him the edge not only on skill wise, but I think on game planning. Like again, those guys in New Mexico know how to fucking game plan. Now they are on kind of a shitty streak. Let's be honest, right? They're like 1-11 in their last 12 or whatever it is. I don't know. Dave knows the number, but what have you seen out of Yair in the gym that makes you think he'll win this fight?
Yeah, man, I'm very excited to see Yair on the big stage in the main event. I think it's a first 5-rounder for both guys. So followed Alex Caceres all the way from the firehouse till now. He's fought some top competition. You know, Yair's rising up those rankings. He's a young stud. I think this fight really, Jesse was saying, it's something where it's a fight to really prove where Yair is at and kind of just make his way up, creeping towards the top 10, as there is a obviously, you know, this division, this 145 division, is just kind of, you know, it's got a bright future. I mean, you got Brian Ortega, 25 years old, Yair Rodriguez, 23 years old, you got Max Holloway, 24 years old. So I think going forward, you know, this division is going to be there. It's loaded with killers. They're making their way to the top. Yair Rodriguez is one of them. I think when he gets into this fight here, I think the way Alex Caceres could possibly win the fight is via the ground game. I know he's really slick on the ground and probably, you know, I think Yair's really good in any scramble. He takes chances to land big shots, and I think we'll see some real, you know, fancy stuff thrown by Yair in this fight. It's going to be interesting to see how Alex is going to deal with it, because I think Yair has proven that he's a tough customer in there with the Charles Rosa fight, the Hangman Hooker fight, and him just laying waste to Andre Fili, which, you know, Fili had a lot of momentum going behind him in that fight as well. So it's really time for Yair to showcase everybody who he is in Salt Lake. First time he's been up there doing a show. I think it's a great main event. It's a card for the hardcore, but Yair Rodriguez definitely on the rise. He's coming. I think he gets the job done this weekend.
All right, now let's finish up the show with a nice little mini discussion here. Red panty nights, right? The phrase coined by Conor McGregor when he's talking to RDA or about RDA. He was like, "You'll get the red panties, I got the fight." Now, red panty nights, let's just kind of, I guess, define it. Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, Brock Lesnar coming back, you know, big money fights as they call it. Now, I think Dave came up with this one, talking about our red panty nights, as we're going to call it now. Are they good or bad for MMA? And we'll kick off here with Jesse. What do you think?
I actually think they're good, except for the man, I feel like I'm crapping on Tyron Woodley a lot in this one. But it gets bad when you got fighters that aren't really those kind of fighters. You know, they're not the stars. You know, they're not the Brock Lesnar's, GSPs, Anderson Silva, John Jones. You know, they're not those A-list guys. They're like just these marginal guys that, you know, get a title or get an important win, and they think that they're able to command this type of money. You know, and Conor McGregor's kind of been the you know, the mother, you could say, of this little brainchild of, you know, having these red panty nights, having these big epic events, you know. And honestly, I think if we think about it, I think his card, his 202 card, is going to be way bigger than 200. I think it's going to have more a more exciting feel than we actually got at 200, and I think he's going to solidify himself as a top draw. Now, I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to have Conor on the card to make it a red penny night, in the sense that that's when you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And I think moving forward, I think we're going to need someone like him to really, you know, just bring in those high numbers for those champions. You know, you want to be a champion on one of those cards so you can hit those pay-per-view points and really cash in.
Yeah, Fred, what do you think of that, man?
Yeah, listen, man. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. There's a reason why they're... Who the fuck don't like red panties? Of course they do. What the fuck? We all love red panties. You ever seen a run red panties? Listen, there's a reason why 202 is going to be great, man, because we all love that fight. Do y'all remember the motherfucking... What was it called? The goddamn it, the Super Hulk tournament or whatever they did in Japan? The crazy tournament that they did back in Dream, where they had all the different like fucking size dudes like Hungman Choi and shit. Listen, I personally used to love those fucking freak show fights. It's fucking entertaining. And there will always. It doesn't have to just be Conor. Listen, bring back Ron. They're about to give Cyborg some can, right?
Yeah.
It makes my fucking cock hurt. Bring back Cyborg and make her fight Ronda. Give Julia Penne, let the division do its thing, and make the red panty fight. No fucking pun intended. There are big fights to be had. Listen, CM Punk is going to be a draw. Like it or not, he is a fucking draw, and people are going to be, oh, don't you fucking shake your head, Jesus. Just worry about somebody stealing your van. You're going to be fucking front and center when it goes down, and you're going to be excited. We all fucking want to see what this prick's going to look like. Whether we think he's going to get killed, whether we think he's actually got talent, it's intriguing, man. Absolutely. Amir Khan was shooting his mouth off recently about coming over wanting to fight Conor McGregor. Can you imagine? Let's just say Nate beats fucking Conor, and they say fuck it, and they book Amir Khan versus Conor McGregor. Are we all not fucking entertained?
Oh, we're watching that shit.
Goddamn center. God damn it, they brought over James Toney. James Toney was a walking corpse. He was a walking corpse when he fought Randy Couture. Let me tell you something. I was this close to the TV. I couldn't have been more excited. I love that shit, man. I love these fights. I mean, do it.
And they promoted Randy Couture up to, I think, brown belt or something like that off of that fucking fight. That was some bullshit. They could put the belt on his shoulders after he submitted James fucking Toney. But Dave, you brought up this subject. Hey. What do you think of this? Well, hold up, time out. Well, Fred.
No, do you got a submission win over James Toney? You Chicano prick?
I bet I could.
Yeah, I bet you couldn't.
I bet I could. All right, motherfucker. I'm working on my heel hooks. Don't fuck with me. All right,
I don't know, man. That takedown was pretty crappy, man. That dude fell like a tree.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But Dave, you brought this up, man. What do you think of this whole red panty thing?
Yeah, I mean, you guys all know, listeners all know, I'm one for fighters getting paid what they deserve. But then again, I'm a guy where I like to see that the top contenders, the champion taking on all comers. So what I didn't like about Tyron Woodley, I'm not ragging on the guy in any way. I actually heard him interview. I forgot who was conducting the interview, but he said he could basically walk away right now and he'd be satisfied. Him making the journey, the long road that he took to getting the title. So it's like, he makes this, remarkable, or he gets a remarkable knockout against Robbie Lawler in that finish. It's like, hey, he should be welcoming, the top guys and just continue to just go on a tear. I mean, if he feels that he's going to be more active and he's going to prove himself as a champion, that's how you do it. And that's how you generate interest, and that's how you fight the big names. So that Wonder Boy fight, that's Tyron Woodley's red panty night. It's just got to be, matched up with the proper fights. And if it happens, he's going to get paid, no doubt about it. So, but I think when other guys like Bisping has his own case for for his red panty night up in England, he's definitely deserving of that. Bisping's been on a road, like no other. Props to him. He achieved a nice win over Luke Rockhold, knocking him out. Just highly unlikely. So Tyron's in that same boat, but I think they'll both get paid. They're both going to get a big card that's going to be lined up. I just think Woodley's got to play his cards correctly, because whether he does have to fight Nick Diaz, so what? I mean, I think Nick Diaz, that's a good red panty night for him as well. So, but the fight that everybody wants to see, that everybody's going to continue to argue, is the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight. So if he does not fight that guy, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't really want to see GSP fight Woodley, just like Kirby said. I don't want to see that fight. I really don't want to even see GSP walk out with anything other than his original gi and no Reebok attire. I want to remember GSP as GSP, just a non-Reebok GSP. Let's put it that way.
It's gonna be a Reebok gi. I'm calling it right now.
So if it is, that's gonna kind of look like,
I personally say,
I want to remember. Go for it, Fred. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, can I say one thing about GSP coming back to? If he does come back and fight Tyron Woodley, I'm calling some bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I think he just waited for the right duck to line up, and he's like, you betcha. Like fucking when Ronda seen that Misha had the belt, you got to imagine that hoe jumped right on the treadmill.
Oh, hey, yes, she did.
Remember exactly that night.
Yeah.
That night, exactly. She sent a text to Dana White. Back to work, I guess. Like, oh, okay, now back to work.
Yeah.
Right. GSP texted Dana like, you know what? I think I'm feeling better.
Oh, that's what it was. Here's the thing, because GSP did not want to fight Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler himself said, I'm tired of 5-round wars. GSP fucking knows. He fights Robbie Lawler, it's going to be a 5-round war. And GSP's going to get tagged the fuck up. The second Woodley won, GSP's just like that. Be like, oh, I'm out of my dark spot. I'm ready to fight. Give me Woodley. Like, what the fuck, dude? So, it's all
Bro, GSP was sitting at the house watching that fight going, I could have ducked under that. I could have dunked under that. I would not have been waiting. I would have took him straight down.
No, you mean the whole time he was saying, "I'm not impressed," right?
Yeah, I'm not impressed.
I'm not impressed with that performance.
Yeah, but if they're open to offering him the Bisping fight, I mean, if he hadn't said that and then came out and said, "Hey, I want to fight Tyron and I'm going to come back," I would have liked to hear it that way instead of, "Hey, I'm trying to jump in a title fight," just kind of like you guys are saying, just jumping in while it's a good time. He texting old Dana up, but hey, GSP's a draw. He'll fucking bring the bigger numbers in Conor possibly, but hey, that's yet to be done. But I agree with you guys when you guys say 202 is going to be bigger than 196, or it's going to break records. So for sure, we still got a couple weeks out. There's going to be I think possibly we've got 2 weeks out. There's going to be some changes possibly to that card too as well. We're still not officially there, guys. So keep in mind.
True.
Yeah, look, we don't know anything till literally the day of, the morning of, we'll know, and even then, who fucking knows? Fucking 200 fucked everybody. Anyway, all right, well, that's gonna do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. You can follow Dave at Dave's MMA Brief. Jesse's over at Sport 1983. And, of course, Fred at Kirby_MMA. You can follow me at Elaw31. Of course, the MMA Advocates are at the MMA Advocates. You fucking tweet that shit all the time. And, again, thanks for joining us. Shout out to Mike Jarbs, Andrew Reed, Jody was on there. I want to say McGronin was on there, too. Yeah. Minion. Sorry I didn't read your comment, but we kind of passed it. But, anyway, thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This show will be up on SoundCloud tomorrow. So if you like the audio version that you can put on your iPod, what do you want to do? It'll be on there. It'll be on Stitcher as well. So, again, for all of us, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one.